It's a sad world out there. And here's the reason why it's sad. We like to joke around with our guests and we like to say, hey, we're going to bust your balls. We're going to give you a little bit of mess. It comes to my attention that we did put up a poll saying, hey, listen, are you guys interested in this Donald Cerrone, Craig Jones slap contest that's happening on Combat Jiu-Jitsu? It's fine. Nobody really cares one way or another about it. Until when we put up the poll, we realized, oh my God, Craig Jones himself actually voted in the poll to say, well, I care. And I got to tell you, most of the times I don't really feel bad. I don't really give a shit. But I think somebody who is involved directly in the poll having to vote for themselves is a special kind of sad. So I guess what we're saying to you is, Craig, it's not that we don't appreciate your jiu-jitsu. It's just, we got better shit to do. But if somebody wants to slap you, we're all for it. Hey, and you know what? That just brings us to a lot of good stuff that we got going on today. You're watching the Grappling Hour. We're learning some new things. I think the song was muted because I tried muting our guest. So it turns out on the switchboard, it's one and the same. So if you didn't hear the theme song for the very few seconds that it was going on, we've learned a new thing. All right, let's talk about our guest today. Our guest is a friend of the show. He is somebody who has continued to do great things in jiu-jitsu. The problem is he lives pretty far away. So he's very kind to give me part of his time this late in the evening. I would say, though, it was great to see that when they're going to have those European ADCC trials, and you think, well, who's going to win that sort of a thing? I mean, who do we know that would possibly... Oh, could it be Ash Williams? Yeah, no, he looks like he's probably going to have a pretty good day. And guess what? He did. He qualified again to return on over to ADCC, which means we get to see him over here in the States come next September. So I want to ask him about that, what else he's got going on, because if you don't know, you should know that the next 2 weeks are pretty impacted with matches at both Polaris and, that is right, Grapple Kings. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the show your friend and mine, one Ash Williams. Ash, how are you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm great, man. Thanks for having me on. I was loving the intro song. I could hear it at my end, so
I would ask this. Do you care about the Craig Jones slap contest?
um, it's hard not to love Craig Jones. Like just anything's involved in. I'm hoping Donald gets off a few good hits. If truth be told, um, but it depends if Craig goes for the slapping or if he just does the thing and just goes straight leg lock. But I'm hoping, yeah, a couple of slaps are thrown. It should be fun to watch.
I think the hesitancy we have here is we always think to ourselves, is there something else we could be doing here? Because we like Craig. The thing is, nobody is going to say, oh, Craig's a bad person to watch do jiu-jitsu. It's just a matter of we run out of shit to do. I mean, him versus Donald Cerrone? Okay, I guess so. I mean, you figure he's probably going to get heel hooked, so you might as well add in a few slaps for good measure. So I think many of us are excited at the very fact that we get to, for one night, have a little bit of notoriety. Ash, you still there? You good, man? Are you frozen as well? You just sent me a note. I'm not frozen to my knowledge. I think you might just need to exit and come back into the room if that's the case, my man. So we are currently experiencing just the slightest bit of technical difficulties with our good friend Ash Williams. We're going to get into our conversation in just a moment. So Ash, if you hear this, why don't you go ahead and exit and re-enter the room and we'll see if we can go from there. Meanwhile, I will talk to these good people and talk them through what else is going on in all of our heads. So first and foremost, I want to make sure that y'all know we are doing several interviews with all of the ADCC trials winners here in the States. Ash Williams is a friend of the show, so we are doing that. We have another person who won one of the European trials that we're going to be reaching out to very soon. I do see Ash though. Actually, if I'm looking at this, it looks like Ash is back. So let me just double check this. Ash, can you hear me, sir? I think he just might be on a bit of a delay. I can't tell if it's just because of where he lives. Ash, I'm going to go and kick you out. Just rejoin the room if you would be so kind. All right. I officially kicked him out. It's for his own good. It'll teach him how to become stronger in the process. I promise you. All right, you guys. So while you're tuning in, yes, we'll get Ash Williams back here in a second. Ash is back in the room. Here we go. Assign back into the show. And let's see if we can do this again. Ash, are you here, sir?
Yeah, I'm back. Was it me a drop though?
Yeah, you're just I think a smidge on a delay. I don't know exactly what's going on there, sir.
No worries. Have you got me now?
I do hear you. It just might be a couple seconds in terms of how your mouth and the words may be like a bad dubbed movie.
Okay, yeah, I got you. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, but
Yeah,
I
you're
think
coming through quite clear to me. So
okay, well, wonderful to see. So Ash, let's start with this, man. I know we asked you about Craig to start, but I want to ask, what did that trials process look like for you guys? Because I know it was back and forth. I knew they had to reschedule, they had to get the times right. So, can you tell me from your recollection what it felt like before you could even get to the trials process to then qualify for it?
yeah. So I've got to be honest. Like the trials for me started almost 3 years ago. So I'd registered for two trials in a row. One where I tore the ligament in my wrist, and the other one where I had some minor disc bulges in my neck. So kind of ruled me out of those two. Um, then I got married in Bali, and weirdly, I got married the exact same time ADCC was. So I actually took for the last ADCC 2019. So I actually took my kit with me to Bali just in case someone dropped out, and I got an invite, and I would have just bombed off the wedding and flown straight to America, to get in trials, to get into ADCC. So I was staying hopeful until like literally the last second. And then obviously we had to wait then a year for COVID, and then the trials were scheduled last year. So my whole team, we all booked flights, we booked hotel, we all sorted, we were gonna go, and then obviously they postponed them. Unfortunately, we actually went to Poland and had a great time regardless. We just went for a blowout because obviously we'd been in camp for what felt like almost like 18 months. Then just thinking about ADCC the whole time. Then eventually they rescheduled them, and we were feeling good for them, and we started prepping and making sure we are doing the hard rounds and the conditioning, the diet, and everything. But by the time we got to ADCC, like I literally felt as if I'd only been thinking about ADCC for like day and night for like 3 years. It's if you go back on all my interviews from other things and people go like, "Oh, what's your goal?" I always just go ADCC, and they go, "So what about this match you got this week against like a top five guy?" I'm like, "Yeah, after this, still ADCC though. I was like, that's all I want to do. That's all I want to be in." Um, I remember like 10 years ago to this year, I was actually in ADCC Nottingham, and like we went for the whole weekend, and it was like not far from where I live, and we got to see it all happen, in front of us. And guys then were like, "Oh, you could do this when you're, in a few years." And I was like, "Ah, get out of it. There's no way. This is like these guys are ridiculous. They're so good." And then knowing that it was going to be in Vegas, knowing Mo and the guys were behind this ADCC again, and it was going to be the biggest one of all time, Galvao and Gordon Ryan. It just felt like the biggest build up of my life, to be honest. And when we finally got out there, and obviously I was on weight, and then the matches started, it just all kind of lined up, and I just felt like it was my time. And like I still find it surreal now. I wake up, I'll see poster about ADCC next year, and like all my family and all my friends are like, "We can't wait to go to Vegas," and it's just crazy. So it's all really surreal. Even now, it's been a few weeks. but it doesn't feel quite normal yet.
Understood. And I mean, there's definitely a lot that goes into this process. You spend so much time prepping for it mentally and getting ready for it so that by the time you do actually get there, we're not even talking about the qualification process. We're talking about the exhaustion and the relief that I'm sure comes from probably getting that first round going in as you're actually getting to compete because you've worked so hard. And I'm sure, I've seen you compete, you're laser focused when you're there, but this is a different sort of a thing where you want to have that experience. You know what it's like to get right there. It's just a matter of, all right, we got to execute now. So you almost feel like the competing is
Yeah.
the big relief part.
It's probably the most relief I've had in terms of my competition competitive career since like those first few big stages. Since I went on EBI for the first time. Um, I've got to be honest. When I like in my head, I was like I really feel like I've done enough for the invite over the last ADCC and this one, especially being from this side of the world and still competing against the best frequently. Um, and then, truth be told, when I did the trials, I was like, no wonder why they want people to do the trials because honestly, it was the hardest tournament I've ever done in my life. Like, not just the individual matches in terms of the competition I had in front of me. It's just a grueling process. You get there, weigh in at like 8 a.m. The Polish trials were like, no, I don't say in the middle of nowhere, but they weren't, situated where there was lots of shops and restaurants and stuff around. So we kind of took like a public bus, like 30 minutes outside of the city we were in, Poznan, and went to the trials, and there was like just corner shops. So I tell my team this all the time. We got there and we took like 2 liters of water and like a couple of rice cakes, just to see us through, so we could, and then we just get food while we were there. And it turns out there's nothing there. So we had to go to the corner shop, and I did my first match at I think 11:30 a.m. I did my last match at 11:20 p.m. 5 matches over 12 hours basically. All was fueled with Haribo and Milka. So I think I must have eaten about 500 grams of Milka between the first match and my finals, and a couple hundred grams of Haribo, and that was literally it. That was just water, a cup of tea, and just yeah, terrible food. And the venue was cold. You like get up, you go compete, you go sit back down, and yeah, it was real tough environment to compete in.
Okay, so it's interesting to hear you say that because I've seen your kind of prep, and we famously talked about the fact that you've traveled even for Polaris, where you do have to do a certain kind of prep, even though you'd
Yep,
love to be able to do it from the comfort of your own home, which by the way you get to do for this next Polaris, and nobody was
I do
happier than
indeed. Yeah,
me after the fact that we've done interviews and you've told me all of the prep and the shit that you had to do that I go, oh, I'm so happy this man competes at home. I'm just so happy he
yeah,
gets to
yeah.
even see his dog and just relax.
Yeah, for sure. Being at home is a massive advantage, and I like the European trials. They every single time I've registered for them and gone to go, like this is the first one I ever went to because of previous injuries, but they're always somewhere where it's quite difficult to get to or a little bit out of the way. Because it does suit some of the middle, well, Eastern European guys, kind of helps them in respect to, I think, cost and everything else. Because if they put it in London, like that's just an expensive trip for everyone involved. So like I think like what they did was great, and it was such a good event. But for sure, mentally and physically, it was grueling for the whole day. And I said like we got out of there like 11:30, I think 11:45 at night. And we kind of got back to the city after getting an Uber back in, and everyone was like on a massive high, and they were like, "Let's all go drinking." And I was like, "Oh look, I like apart from my head, everything else, body down, just feels destroyed." I was like, "I gotta go to bed. Like I gotta get some food in me and just bedtime, and then we can celebrate tomorrow." Because I was exhausted.
Wait, so they wanted to, let me see if I have the story right. They wanted to go out drinking before they compete?
No, no, the next, as in the night of when we competed, we got back in the set about midnight after the matches, and everyone was on a high, and I was like, "Ah, boys, I'm done.
Okay,
I'm so
because
tired."
I thought that's what I heard, but then there's a part of me that said, "No, Raf, you've never been in that foreign country with these hooligans. You don't know how it goes over there. Ask the question just to double check."
No. We to be fair, like we had four competitors compete. Five competitors compete at trials. We were all very disciplined and all very amped up for it. One of our students fought Tarza. One of our students fought the guy who took silver medal against Tarza. Um, and then we had a guy at 88 and a female competitor. It's really it's the biggest thing we've taken to an event like this, and um, that's what we got a big team of players, big team of Grapple Kings. We're just trying to keep the momentum going from that first trials where we kind of finally got a bit of relief in terms of being able to compete again. I think the lockdown has really inspired all our competitors to be like, right, it's not taken for granted no more. Let's get out there, and it's been tough. I've been watching my whole competitive field tear it up every weekend on fight to wins, third course, who's number one, and I'm just sitting here doing nothing, and it's just difficult. America have been at it for the last 8-9 months, and we've been at it for the last three. So it has been cool to watch the guys go after it, but obviously I want to be in the mix. And ADCC Trials was the first of all them. I actually competed the week before in a gi in a local tournament just to have a run out because I hadn't competed in so long. I literally did a gi match in a local tournament just to have a run out because I was nervous. Yeah.
That's fascinating. How did it feel to compete back in the gi? Because again, it's not like you're not proficient at the gi. It's just that there's momentum in the no gi side, and it's served you very well.
Yeah, 100%. And it was a case of we looked like we were looking everywhere in the UK for a tournament um, to compete in Nogi, and there just wasn't anything available before trials. And my whole team were competing in the British Open gi, and I looked at my category like just before deadline. I was like, oh, guys, there's only one guy in my division. Maybe I just go there and run out in a game to see what happens. If I get murdered, I get murdered. If I don't, I don't. And I ended up competing against like a Brazilian from Brazil, like who'd just come over from Brazil, who's actually a half decent competitor. So I had a bit of a tough match, fortunately getting the win. But it was just nice. It was more like I was sitting in bed like 2 a.m. about like sweating and being nervous about my first competition back, as if I was back in like white and blue belt days where I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? But I just had to get it out of the way before trials.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, dude, that's better to be nervous there than it is to when you need to turn it on and you need to be a certain zone to just go and be exactly the competitor that we know you to be. That is cool. That is great insight in that. At any point, did you sit there and think, you know what, maybe I'll take this gi and go compete in that over at trials? Because they do allow that.
Oh my! I saw one guy that we watched all the American trials, and I can't remember his name.
It's a friend of ours. It's Emil Fisher.
Yeah, he competed the gi, and then he put a post up about like how it was still good to compete in the gi, and I was like, man, you're nuts! Like, there's no, I'm not getting caught dead in the gi in ADCC. Like they just like it's just so much friction. You're 100%. Like, you're at a disadvantage for sure. And like obviously, like when I went to ADCC trials, I felt like I was the favourite going in. There was tons of medalists there beforehand that were actually in the division, and it was quite stacked. So I just felt like I had to go there and get the job done. So I wasn't putting anything up to chance. So there was no part of me that thought about wearing a gi.
Good for you, and you really listen, dude. I will immediately make fun of those people who wear the gi, and this time it just so happened to be that we know the goon because I went to the West Coast trials in 2017, I want to say, and there was a gentleman who wore a gi famously, and I remember looking at this guy like, bro, like I do comedy, but man, if I had paid money to come do comedy, that's a bit I've really got to commit to. And this dude, when he won, he was like tearing off his gi. I was like, and I go, oh my God, he's committed to the full bit. Good for that guy. Because he did win, I think, once or twice, but it was a lot. So you mentioned madness in terms of your category. Was that in reference to the fact that it was just such a stack thing, or were there things happening before the tournament that we just didn't know at that point?
No, so to be honest with you, I looked at the whole bracket and the division, and I only recognised two names, which were actually UK athletes, Jack Sear, and then sorry, an Irish athlete, then Sam McNally, and I know they're both good competitors, and they would be tough matches for myself. I would feel confident against them, but I know they're definitely game competitors, and I thought they're going to be the toughest guys of the day. If I can get through them, then I should be able to do the rest of the field. And then I actually ran into Jack Sear in Poznan Main Square, like 8:30 the night before trials, where I just cut weight down to 66. I had to hot bath a little bit to get the weight off. And I met Jack, and I was like, "Oh, Jack, you feeling good for tomorrow?" He's like, "Bro, have you seen the field?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like the guy who won it 2 years ago is here, the silver medals here, a guy who's like won it 3 years ago is here." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Man, I don't recognize anyone." He was like, "Have you watched the other trials?" And I was like, "Well, obviously not." I was like, "Obviously, I couldn't have watched it that much." So he was like, "Yeah, they're just so like everyone who's anyone regarding ADCC in Europe are 66." In terms of won previously or medal previously, he was like, "Yeah, they are here." And I was like, "Ah, well, tomorrow's gonna be a bit of a tougher day than I thought."
Now, I find this fascinating because you're a big proponent of tape study, and that's something I want to get into a little bit later. So I know you're obsessively watching things. Like that's part of your mystique. That's part of what you really attribute to a lot of your growth as an acceleration of what may keep other people back. But one thing though that I guess starts to get to me is you probably figured once these people were telling you this, like, oh, you just didn't see that you're going to have a really hard day. It's going to be incredible, intense competition. Does that change your game plan at this point, or do you just go like, nah, fuck it, I'm all set. This is where we're going because you're about to probably go into your first match relatively shortly after that kind of conversation and that knowledge.
Yeah. So two thoughts on this question. So the first one was I do watch a lot of jiu-jitsu, like we through lockdown in particular when America started back up and we weren't really we had no competitions. We had like a little Sunday pancake club going, like every Sunday all the boys come over, we'd all have pancakes, we'd watch Shoes Number One, Third Course, Fight to Win, literally any and all jiu-jitsu we could have watched the day before, we were watching, like 100%, like we loved it. As in like 4 or 5 of the guys come over and we just watched our weight division below, above. And obviously, I've watched the American trials and ADCC reruns over and over again. For some reason, no part of me thought I should watch the European trials previously. Like, I don't know why it's overlooked Europe, and I just went, I'll just watch the Americans and see how they're doing it. I kind of I just overlooked Europe completely. I just assumed the American trials are obviously the toughest, so they're the best to watch. So I just watched them kind of over and over again. so, um, and then so it was. I don't know what I was thinking on that front, And then when I heard the news that it was the toughest field that I'd been in a while, I actually got a bit excited. I was like, you know what, like I wanted to win it at the best anyway. I wanted to show everyone why I was number one in Europe. I genuinely believe that not even my weight, I do really feel like I'm pound for pound up there with one of the best guys in Europe. And this was a good opportunity to display it. Like I just remember every match my brothers walked down with me and he'd just go like, "You feeling good?" And I was like, you don't need to ask. Like, I honestly, like, I just don't know how someone's going to beat me today. Like, it's like I just feel like it's going to be my day. And I was a bit gutted. I submitted my first four opponents, and relatively quickly as well. And I felt really good. And in the final, I think like I just got a bit overwhelmed. It was the last match of the day. All the other finals had been on. I started to feel a bit of pressure. I was against a tough Dagestani. Like I knew he was gonna be game, but I just didn't know how game, And then I got him in like a trick plata, and I was like, "How is this not breaking his arm?" I made a couple of mistakes in the finals, which I believe I should have put the guy away. And at some point, I knew it was going to come down to overtime anyway. I thought I'd get to overtime at some point and be forced to wrestle. And like I remember before trials, I was like, "Oh, how do you feel if you wrestle, Dagestani or something or a European?" I was like, "I'm telling you, I'll out wrestle anyone I need to. I know I will." And I'm kind of glad it came down to that in the end because I wanted to prove that I wasn't just like a one trick pony. I didn't. I got like a leg lock, a choke from the back, a triangle, a Kimura. Like I showed versatility through the whole thing. And it really, we had really, really strict game plan though. We had a really, really tight game plan for trials in terms of like on the clock, like what minute it was, what I was going to be attacking, why I was going to be attacking it. It didn't really, the opponent didn't really matter, just the game plan mattered. So we were very, very strict on what we were going to do going into that. And in the final, I was sticking to the same game plan, but I just made a few clinical errors at key points, which I believe I can iron out by ADCC next year.
Okay, and you're getting a little ahead of me in some of the regards because I did want to go a little bit match by match, but I guess the first thing I'm going to ask you is the official name of your crew was the Pancake Club. That's what you guys went with?
On the Sunday, our Pancake Club, yeah, yeah, I'll go for that. A solid. I mean, I think our Facebook group is called the Gravy Train. I'll have a look. Yeah, with on Facebook we've got the Gravy Train. Yeah, it's pretty solid.
Okay, okay. Let me. You know what? Hold on, hold on.
That's that's the gravy train. Yeah. So
I mean, the
yeah,
fat kid in me is very pleased with this. There's just something wonderfully you guys, European, I guess we could say, about being like, well, we've got our pancake club. Like, we've got the Danaher Death Squad that just retired. And y'all are coming up and
yeah.
being like, no, we're going to represent the pancakes. And I guess the question is, pancakes over waffles?
We mix in a few waffles every now and again, but we actually make the fluffy American type. We don't do the crepes, which are obviously generally European, and that's what people have them this way. But yeah, we should again smash on some bacon and egg, fluffy pancakes, watch some jiu-jitsu. Life could be worse, couldn't it? So yeah, it was a great way to spend our Sunday.
I very much appreciate that group mentality that you get together. It just goes to show the differences and the commitment that you guys have, that you're actually getting up at those hours, because we're a little spoiled here in the United States since we kind of run things. So I do try to think like, yeah, it probably sucks time wise for you guys for fights and all of our nonsense. So why don't we go ahead and get into this? Why don't we get into the beginning of your day? Do you mind walking me through your first match? Because you mentioned versatility, and I think if you are coming in as the favorite, and you mentioned there's a little bit of pressure in that, but that it's good pressure. But for you, I'm wondering, when you mention versatility, it must also come in the fact that if you don't win it at trials, you need to make a statement in case they need that alternate. So showing that versatility is like, okay, maybe I didn't win, but look at that. Not only did I not do one style, I gave you multiple finishes in multiple regions with very different opponents.
Yeah, 100%. And it was after the first match actually. So I had my first match, and basically, I told my coach, I was like, look, I think I'm just going to pull guard, in trials. I believe my guard is very difficult to pass. I haven't had passed that many times in tournament, and I've fought real good guys. And I think one of the things is I think everyone's expecting me to play top. But truth be, because a lot of people think I wrestle hard and I like pressure passing, which I do. But when you've got multiple matches in a day, that's just a really risky strategy. You're risking injury, fatigue, just collision. You don't really need that. You need to be tactful and wise when you're going for the trials. So we thought, we'll pull guard and go from there. And I used to play a lot of Z guard and half guard butterfly back in my brown belt days. And the other thing I think people underestimate is that like I actually come from a point scoring background. So like I was pretty much a out and out points grappler all the way through the ranks. And even at the start of black belt, I just fought IBJJF for the first year and a half of black belt and all my brown belt years. So I think a lot of people think I'm just a sub only guy who just scrambles for submissions, but it's actually as far from true as could be possible. And I knew that when points came in, that I would 100% be able to sweep anyone in front of me with the remaining time. And then if, for example, I didn't get that, then I would definitely out wrestle them in the overtime. So the plan wasn't actually to go on out and submit everyone so quick. That wasn't actually, it wasn't like, oh, go out there and burst hard and try and get them out there before you start. The plan was just to go out there, pull guard, feel them out, and if I needed to, just stay bottom, look for a sweep, and then if we need to go overtime, we'll go overtime. But then my jiu-jitsu just started to flow, and I felt like I was attacking really well. The first guy kind of made a mistake and he sat back for a leg lock. And obviously, I've got great leg lock awareness and defense, so I was able to immediately put pressure on a pass on him and take his back and get him out there pretty early. And it felt good to get the first win of the day because obviously, like when you are competing, you're nervous and you're a bit tight, and your game's not really flowing yet. So it was nice to get out there and get that first win. And obviously, my team were happy for me. And then we just took it match by match then.
So speaking of match by match, we're going to kind of run through these a little bit, but you mentioned it's good to start off with kind of a submission to begin the day. But I kind of want to give credit to your brother because your brother is a huge part of your game, and I know he's an excellent strategist as well.
Yeah.
So in that in between time, because I can already figure the prep is going on, is he giving you any trends that he's seeing? Is he watching the other matches with you or for you?
Yes. Yeah, so we had I had my head coach out there, Chris, and I had my brother, who I consider kind of like I know sometimes my jiu-jitsu coach, because like Chris is like my head coach, where he looks after like if I'm gonna make weight, lifting weights, like everything else that goes with kind of just being an athlete, my sleep and rest and everything else. But my brother is kind of just my pure technical tactician, and then I've also got Jamie Dix and Tom Barry, who are are two of our top students. They're brown belts, and they watch so much jiu-jitsu. They watch incredible, and literally they come up to me and go like, "Oh, you got this guy next." I watched this. They've seen these guys compete numerous times. But to be honest with you, we didn't do too much in between matches. I just went and sat back down, uh, just eating my Haribo, and just I was actually messaging people on Instagram. I was just messaging people back and forth from the UK, and I was kind of just being like, "Nah, man, like it's a good day. Like I'm okay." The only time it got surreal for me was when Mo Jassim sent me a voice note in between in between my matches, and he was like, "Hey, bro, like just watching trials. You're looking good out there. Just keep it going. Couple of matches, and you get your ticket." And I was like, oh my god. I was like, I gotta do good now if he's watching. So that was real surreal. I'm sitting there going, boys, Mo was just literally messaging me, and I'm competing right now, and I was like, this is nuts. So like I was messaging one of my students from Australia between matches, and he was saying, "Oh, you're looking good, etc." And yeah, it was just in between matches, we did have a real. I was kind of just having a downtime, just having a cup of tea, chilling, just doing what I would do in the gym if I was, in between sessions or something, because some of the weights were very long. My second match, I had to walk over because the guy was a no-show. So, like, I think I had like almost 2.5 hours in the first stint to wait between matches. So it was a case of just staying warm, eating slowly, stretching, going for a walk, just staying ready but not exerting.
I guess to that same end, are your students competing at this time as well? Because you mentioned you had a little bit of a team, so does that help to pass some of the time as well, kind of being
Yeah.
involved in theirs?
Yeah, so it was nice in trials because Chris and Josh came purely as coaches. So Josh wasn't competing, but he will be competing at the next trials at 66 as well. So, it could be cool if we both get out there. Um, and then Tom Byer was competing, and Jamie was competing, and we had a female Ashley Bendel and John Mafflin at 88. Mafflin unfortunately lost his first round with a few points errors. He gave up a sweep and then was chasing the match. And in ADCC, with the time being what it is, it's only 6 minutes and the points are only 3 minutes. So if you give up a score, you are chasing hard. It's a very difficult rule set to get it back in. So Josh and Chris were just cornering. I watched all the matches of the guys competing, and once I had I think my third match in, like Tom was competing against Tarza, and I was like losing my head from the stands, shouting, cheering them on. Do you mean? And generally, like I was just enjoying the day. It's weird to say because it was kind of one of those days where I was like, I just don't, I'm just not going to lose. It's not going to happen, and I may as well enjoy this experience because, like, you spend so long sometimes worrying and um, like just being anxious and nervous in moments that you don't enjoy the moment, and then it passes and you're like, oh, like I could have just enjoyed it and still performed. So that's why I was just meshing some of my guys back home and chilling and just doing what I would do on a normal day because it was such a long day, to be like sitting there and like going through everything that could happen in a match through my head. It seemed counterproductive at that point, like I just need to go out there and do what I do.
A good strategy. I would say now we kind of recognized that your second opponent you mentioned was a no-show. What does that then do? Because now you've got that wait time. You mentioned that you were killing the time by sending messages to folks. So by the time you get around to your next, which should be your third match, what's going through
Yeah.
your head, and do you mind walking us through that match?
So obviously we watched the matches of the guys that were my side of the bracket. We watched them go through and we had a look what we thought of them and kind of like what we thought was possible on my end. So I believe the second match was I believe it was the triangle. I think it was a triangle. Um, and then I think the third one was the footlock. So yeah, I think second one was triangle. So I went out, pulled guard again. Guy came in heavy on top. Um, I've got just like a basic off balance. I do it to like a diamond guard to attack, triangle off of, and I hit once, didn't come off, hit twice, and I was like, oh man, we got this. And like my brother had a word with me, in between matches, and he was like, look, like I know you want to finish people, I know you want to look good out there. He's like, but it'll come. Just let the submission come. You don't have to force it. You don't have to like chase it because you'll end up chasing into like a negative tactical situation, which you don't want to be in. So once I got the triangle locked in, I just really took my time. I really didn't feel like I was under any rush or anything to get off that match. As in I knew I just had the time to get the finish. But it was a quick match because I actually remember Mo messaged me again after that match saying, "Oh man, I just missed your match. I told my friend to let me know when you come on next, and you came on, and I was grabbing a drink, and by the time I came back, it was over. So well done, But just keep going." So it was really cool, a real cool experience for me. But this second match was again, once we get because once we're down to like the top eight, then like for me, like I can start going much harder
Mm,
because I don't, I've got nothing to reserve in terms of no, it's gonna be a long day because it was a bit different. The American trials were done over 2 days, so the top eight had that night to rest and then had three more matches. So I think the fact that obviously we had them all in one day. And the three last matches could have been absolute wars for all I knew. So after my second match, I just got my joggers back on, hoodie back on, wrapped up warm, and just chilled then and just watched some jiu-jitsu. I just watched my bracket play out. I watched the British lads compete, like Sam McNally, Jack Sear, Ross Nichols. I just enjoyed watching them, watched Tarz's matches. Um, and yeah, just had a relax then before the quarters.
Um, I guess as somebody who is intrigued by this, for us, the 2 day was very interesting. It was the first time we really done that. Is
Yeah.
that something that you would prefer, or do you like the idea of getting it all done in one day?
It was. I don't know. I thought it was interesting. The only thing I think is interesting about the American trials is obviously because the accessibility is there. I know like this trials, for example, had like the most entries of any trial in history. Which was awesome and really really cool. Um, but obviously, like I don't think the credentials of everybody in that bracket is ADCC quality. So, like we watched all of the American trials. We watched every match of 66, every match of 77, the whole way through. We loved it. We were loving the action and everything was going on. But the guys who were the top eight or even the top 16 in the 66 and 77, they were just breezing the first rounds. They were
Yeah.
literally just walking out, just being like, yeah, cool, get a win, boom, and jump off. So like, really day two is what interests us over here. Like we were
Mm.
all really geared up to watch day two because we knew it was like it was almost like a pre-bracket the day before. There weren't that many upsets. Not many big names got knocked out early. Only like one or two guys I think got knocked out, which I thought I was surprised they didn't make it through further. Like Nick Ronan got out early, but generally, like the guys I thought were gonna progress to those eight were there, and then we were just in for a good show then the next day. But personally, myself, unless it was over the amount of matches I had, um, I think one day is fine. Because like when you cool down and you get sore, and you wake up the next day, you might not be in the mood for another three wars. If you had three wars the day before. But then again, IBJJF is gear no gear over 2 days, and you sometimes you have 2, 3, 4 matches day one, and then 3, 4, 5 matches day two. So it's not done by a lot of athletes, though. So I think for the Americans, it probably was a really nice. The first day was a nice day for them. They had such a good run out, got good finishes, and they looked smooth. But day two was the day where we were really excited to watch.
I feel that. And, we had people, because we're doing a fight companion, we're watching the whole thing, and we have people being like, oh, these bums are out of here now, so now we get to the real competition. I'm like, those bums. Those bums are the ones that are fucking you up. I mean, there's just levels of what talent we're seeing, and there's not a surprise why, when you get to those top 16, you kind of know those are the guys. And then it becomes, oh, how are we surprised that Keith is back in this? How are we surprised that you've got a William Tackett again for their umpteenth version of showing up there? And for me, I always just say this. I'm like, the one thing for ADCC, the actual competition, is that you need to remember, okay, yeah, maybe trials are a little different, but once we go to the actual competition, all bets are off. You all had to do something spectacular to get there, and that's where the real surprises happen. So I feel like, to me, it's like, yeah, maybe for trials you can understand the favorites are the favorites, but when you get to the actual dance, some crazy shit's gonna happen, and that's the stuff. That's 100%. The stuff of dreams,
I mean, I think the ADCC Worlds is just it's a life changing 2 days for any athlete, and it's not even a case of, I don't believe you have to win. You have to just put on a good performance. You have to go out there and do like something spectacular. You just go out there and do something spectacular. And if you watch my matches, I like to go out there and just go after anything and everything I can, and I don't really leave anything on the sidelines. I just come in and do my best. And I think 2 matches in the first day, 2 matches on the second day is actually really cool with that respect, because obviously on day one, it's going to be maximum 40 minutes. Like, the pace, man, the guys at that level can do 40 minutes is incredible. But I plan to be doing it as well, so I think like it's going to be a really, really good event, and I definitely am coming as prepared as I can. But out there, anything can happen, and the guys are so talented that it's hard to pick a favourite. I thought of 66 quite a lot now in terms of who's in there, who could be there, who's going to win it. And the truth be told, I think, man, anyone could beat anyone on any day. And, I'm just hoping that it's just going to be my day.
Of course. Let's get into the home stretch of that day of competition for you for ADCC Trials then, because as you mentioned, you had a diverse series of finishes throughout all the way up until the finals, but we go from triangle to outside heel hook to reverse triangle. So talk to me a little bit about those 2 specific finishes then.
There you go. So I mixed those two up. Yeah. So like when I came up for the quarterfinals, it was probably like 6, 7 p.m. Now, it's starting to get into the day, because obviously as you go up, it goes faster, so the break is less. So it's probably about 6, 7 p.m. for my third match of the day. And I was kind of walking onto the match, and Jack Sear was like, he was like, Ash, trying to get my attention. Like, I was like, what's going on, bro? What's going on? He was like, and as I'm walking on the mat, he's like, you don't like heel hooks? So he's just screaming, he's just shouting, like, you don't do leg locks. And I was like, okay, all right, cool, man. Like, I don't do leg locks either, but I could sure bust one out, I suppose, if this guy doesn't like leg locks. So I kind of jumped, went underneath him, got a leg tie up early on, and then I kind of let one slip out, and my brother shouted, my brother's like, come on, bro, like, just like put the finish on. You're not here to play around. Don't put them on light. He's just, he's telling me like when you get it next time, or you get the bite, just put it to bed. So the second time I got hold of the heel, I just went after it hard. And I put that match away. But come to think of it now, it does sound like that was my second match, because I remember him telling me that if from now on, if you are getting a sub, put the guy to bed. Do not let it go. Don't slip it up. Don't put it on light. Just really go after it hard. And that probably was for the semi-final then, when I got the Kimura from the triangle. That one was a bit gnarly because I hit it very hard. And I thought the guy's shoulder was going to come off. So like I managed to go same plan as my second match, where I got to the triangle again. This time put the reverse triangle in, and then went after the isolation of the Kimura. Obviously we're in the semi-finals now. In my head, I'm like, man, I'm podium now. This is good. This is where I want to be. It was getting late, and the rest of the team are knocked out. We're knocked out by now, unfortunately. So I was the last guy on the mat. So we had one more fight in the final. So I went out there, and I was kind of like, man, I've had 3 subs. I'm going to put this guy away. I know I am. And then I actually pulled the triangle, got the Kimura, ripped it out, because he felt strong. And when I went, the grip just went really fast, so it came on really hard. So got the finish. And fair play to him, he fought again and won bronze. Like he fought after I put the Kimura on, and then he won bronze. So he's a very tough guy, and I've loved looking at him since. And he's a very good competitor. But I actually came off the mat, and a lot of the UK guys were like, "Man, you're just on a different league today. You really are just up a level compared to everyone else in the division, and you're just looking unstoppable. And that's the type of that's what I needed. Coming up to the final, the good words of encouragement, and they're not teammates. They're just fellow jiu-jitsu practitioners from the UK. They're very supportive, and I felt like a good buzz in the room. Like as if like it was going to be a good final, and as if it was going to be my day. But I did have a tough match in the final.
I love the conversations that are happening with y'all over there, because there's a part of me that I think that deals with so many hecklers, or maybe just American culture, that if somebody's like, he doesn't like heel hooks, I'd be like, nah, you're probably fucking with me. You're putting me into it. Like, I would immediately be like that. But it sounds like when one of your homies is telling you this, you just go, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll do that. That sounds good. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, well, like, because a lot of the UK grapplers, like, we're not friends, we're not close friends. Like, if it was one of the other boys in a small tournament, I'd be like, nah, you have me on, but like, nah, I'm not going for that, But in the trials, I just felt like it kind of like the UK was rooting for UK, as like we just wanted to see UK athletes do well. So every time a UK athlete won, everyone was happy for them, and like I think that's a really good thing. It's real nice to see the camaraderie between each other. And for sure, I just think that the people wanted UK athletes to win between us. Like for example, like there was a lot of Polish supporters there, and when Mateusz Skanicki was ripping people's feet off, like the crowd were going nuts. Like apart from Mateusz being in a Polish crowd, probably the biggest atmosphere came from the UK team. Then the guys in the UK shouting and cheering for each other. So that was really cool.
I'm going to ask this because you did
kind of go over a little bit of your finals a little bit earlier in our conversation. But I think to me, I'd really like insight, because I did watch that match, and it was tense, it was good. But what do you think was the extra factor that ended up giving you the win? Or what do you think about your approach to that match was the difference maker that helped you through what would be a normally tough match for most people, but even tougher when you know what's on the line?
So truth be told, I haven't publicized it really at all. But like 2 days before I left for the event, I actually I've been getting a couple of scans and stuff on my neck, because the 2 disc bulges I had previously were minor bulges, and I've been having pins and needles and stuff on my right hand on the lead up to trials again. But I was like, I can't miss trials, man. There's no way. So I went to see a specialist. I did an MRI, and it turns out I've got 2 minor bulges and a major bulge now in my neck, hence the problems with my arm. And I like 2 days before the event, I had like the doctor's letter come through saying like, your health insurance is null and void. If you go compete, you've not got doctor authorization. You are risking being paralyzed, and all this like crazy paragraph of like, do not do any contact. You 100% are not medically cleared to compete. And I was like, yeah, it is what it is. You know, like I'm going to trials 100% and I'm winning. And then when I made that decision in my head, because I got like about 4 weeks out, I got that news that he said no contact. And I was like, do you know what? Like, I'm just actually I'm gonna wrestle hard in classes twice a week and make sure that if I have to do it, I can wrestle. And going into the final, I think that was the biggest difference, is that I had been making the conscious decision that I was going to wrestle with intent, and I was going to put the pressure and pace on from top if I needed to. That's why I pulled guard the first 4 matches, so I didn't have to wrestle to save my neck and save, obviously, any type of risk of injury. So what I did in the final is he got a negative first. He got a negative for a guard pull off of a takedown attempt. Then he got back up, we back in the wrestle, and obviously I've wrestled a couple of the Americans now, and they're always very physical and strong. And Garbeg, to be fair to him, is very, very good, and he's a very good wrestler. But when I locked up with him physically, I was like, man, he just doesn't feel like he's strong enough to take you down. He doesn't feel like he's big enough to, move you or put you on the back foot. So I kind of knew that if it went to overtime, I thought, yeah, I can get this guy for sure. You know, like it was probably the most my gas tank has suffered in terms of a singular match, because I'm going to put it down to the Haribo and Milker all day. Like I wasn't feeling that brilliantly for the match. And that's one thing, for example, they were very good at. You know, they'd been in trials before, because in between every match, they were coming off. They had like massive bags of Tupperware of just chicken and rice. And they were literally just going to the foyer and just going, bap, bap, eating in between every single match and fueling back up. You know, there's me sitting there having like Haribo and a bit of milk or Oreo or something, you know, just throughout the day. And then I think the biggest thing for me when I locked up with him was I was just like, I don't think he's going to be big and strong enough to take me down. So if we went to overtime, I was confident that I would get to wrestle. But back to when he got the first negative, I was like, oh, I've won. He's got a negative, man. I know I've won now, 100%. I'm going to win. So I shot a double leg, and in my head I was like, right, 1, 2, 3, right, pull guard. And I watched it back, and it was actually shoot a double leg, 1, 2, 3, and I pulled guard. I got the negative as well, and I was like, no. I was like, all I had to do is get to guard, and I 100% won. Like I knew I could stop and pass my guard for as long as I needed to. So yeah, I watched it back, and I was like, I thought I counted to 3, but I watched, and I 100% it was not 3 seconds, no way, you know. So we had to go overtime. Ref stands up straight off the bat. You know, we go hard. He shoots. I went for a wrestling switch. Managed to get behind him. Got the hooks in. I looked at the clock. There's 2 minutes 30 left or something. 2 minutes 15 maybe. And that's when he just went absolute turbo. You know, he was throwing everything at my guard, going ballistic, absolutely raw dogging me all over the shop, going mental. And in my head, I just remember going like, oh man, I'm going to ADCC. This is insane. Whilst I'm just getting like spun around like a toddler spinner, you know, like I was just spinning around like a nutcase, just going, I'm in ADCC, this is insane. And my brother's shouting like, time up on a leg lock, sweep him. And I'm just like, just flying around the place, just going, I won't pass my guard. I think I had my eyes closed at one point, and honestly, it was nuts. And then I just remember getting up, the ref raising my hand, and then there'd been like 6 finals before us, and everyone was just like kind of clapping. Everything was nice and smooth, you know, cool. And my hand gets raised, and my whole team just start going, let's all go to Vegas. Let's all go to Vegas. Honestly, like, everyone just looking at them like, what is wrong with them? And I was like, that's the best team in the world.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack here because...
Okay, I think I'm going to address the comedy stuff first before I get to the real. Number one, You mentioned that while they're eating like protein and gains and all of that over on the side, your champion food of choice is just having some Oreos over on the side.
Yeah, we only had a corner shop, so we had a corner shop to go to. So basically, your selection was, your average crisps, snacks. I think we had a couple of rice cakes in the mix now and again. And then the girls went. A pizza place opened up at like 8 o'clock, so the girls went to get pizza between the semi-final final, and I was like, can I have a slice of pizza? I don't know. Like, is it probably the best fuel after not eating good food all day? So I had like one slice of pizza, and then I was like, oh my god, that does not make me feel good. So I just stopped eating pizza straight away. Um, but yeah, we were on quite a strict sweets and chocolate diet for the day. Really, it
Okay, I
wasn't
understand.
ideal. And you're watching all these teams just eat in between every match, and I was like, I feel like going over there and asking them if I can have a little bite.
Okay, that's fine because I guess that segues to
My
my
second question in terms of the comedy stuff, which is you mentioned that he was throwing you all around and raw dogging you. Do we have the
Yeah,
same definition of raw dogging? Because here in the States,
maybe not.
okay, I just wanted to make
But
sure that the
our version of raw dog mode is where you literally just throw technique out the window and you just start going ballistic.
oh, okay. No, I think very different. Raw dogging here in the States is, hey, you know what? That condom, don't need it. Uh,
Oh,
so,
no. That's a thing in the UK for sure. That is raw dogging as well. But in our gym, if you go raw dog mode, I suppose that's what we say it because you're just going in for the kill. I suppose.
just maybe, hey, listen, love y'all, love your team. Workshop the name because I would tell you this: if someone yelled, "We're about to go raw dog on Raph," I might run out of that gym very quickly.
Bro, the gravy train raw dogs. What can I say? Jesus Christ.
All right, let's get to
The
the
real questions on this. So, you're telling me that your doctors, were walking you through and said, "Okay, we get it. You do this competition. There are serious impacts to your health," and their remedy to
Yeah.
that is, well, we know this is what you do as your line of business, but if you do it, bad news for you. We don't give a shit, and we're not going to do anything. So it's a high element of not just risk, but it's an element of could be sustained danger for you for a long time, or impair you. At any point, did you have anybody try to talk you out of trials when this happens, or have you disclosed this to anybody
No,
else, maybe other side than your
not at
circle?
all. No, my family and my coaches and that knew, and some of the team and that, some of my close training partners. But it was, I think it was maybe like 8 to 10 weeks out. I got the first scan. We got a thing called the NHS in the UK, which is kind of free healthcare. Um, but I couldn't get the scan on the NHS in the time, so I went privately, got the scan. Then I went to a neurosurgeon. I went to a specialist in Swansea, but he wasn't a sports specific specialist. No, he was just a specialist for like the condition and kind of the what the outcome should be. And the only issue we always say over here with the NHS is the fact that obviously their goal is not to make you match fit, is to make you life fit. Do is like, can you walk up the stairs? Yes. Can you go to work? Yes. If you can do your normal day to day stuff, like that is the kind of their definition of healthy, I suppose. But obviously, when I went in there and I said, "Look, I'm an athlete," he was like, like I don't like." He didn't really want to work with an athlete, to be honest, because he was, off straight off the bat, he was just saying that um, he can't make the decisions in terms of my livelihood, in terms of what I should do, because it's obviously is my livelihood being an athlete. And he kind of said, like I'm meant to be treating, your average normal Joe. And I said, so what advice would you give them if they had this condition? And he was like, oh, well, you just need to stop contact immediately, like zero contact. And I was like, yeah, that's not really a choice. And I was like, so what else can we do? And I said, oh, can I get surgery? Can I get treatment? I was like, if I get a scan and it looks, my neck's looking healthier, like what's the choices then? And he was like, oh, look, literally, like with with what you've got, where you've got it, he was like, you are risking it pretty much at all times anyway. Regardless of if you get treatment, like it really shouldn't be a condition where you consider doing physical contact, especially sports again. And obviously, at that moment, I kind of just went, I just switched off. I was kind of like, I don't want to listen to this guy no more. Like he's got my best health interests at heart, but he hasn't got my best sports and mental interests at heart. And for me, like it's not a slight on him at all because he's just doing his job. And I understand that. But the way I look at it is, I've got a job to do as well, and not doing jiu-jitsu is not one of them. So like I can't. That's not a decision I was willing to make at that time. And with ADC's trials, I couldn't watch someone else win them again. Like it just no way. There's no way I could have sat at home watching somebody else win trials when I knew that was just what I was meant to do. So um, I did the key match in the British Open to have the run out. Then I give I give a go at the trials, and actually since then I've had another like I think maybe 8-9 matches in actually local tournaments. We just as a team we decided to start competing more. So every time my team went to compete, I was like, yeah, I'll come with you. And if there's somebody there for me to match against, let's have a match. And I gotta be honest, the more active I've been, the less symptoms I've had in my arms. So it's actually a good thing. I feel like if I had stopped then, I actually would be suffering a lot more now, So I'm super glad I made the decision I did. And to be fair, my family and my wife and everything, they just told me, look, you know your body, you know what you want to do. And they said, that you just do you. And, they supported me through the whole thing.
Well, that's wonderful, man. And I'm glad to hear you're okay because this is news to me. I know that every athlete has gone through major setbacks or health conditions that have been problematic, and you got to fight through it. So nobody really ever comes in 100%, as the phrase we like to tell people.
Yeah, that's what I agree with. Is the fact of the matter is, like, if it wasn't that, it'd been something else, So, like, I can't sit here and go, like, oh, the other guys in my field had nothing going on. For sure they did, everyone has.
But and I think you were alluding to it because I was going to ask if your health has been okay since. Obviously so, because like a goon, you've got other things coming up that we'll talk about in a second. But I do know that you mentioned as you were walking through it that competing even after the fact, you feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's almost like if you had stopped right there, you would be stiff and there's more risk to your body than by staying loose and in a smart way, making sure that your body is continuously adapting to the type of competition that you're going to need to be at.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like, obviously, like I'm far from a doctor. Like I'm not clued up on enough health things to have a high enough opinion on these things. But the way I look at it is like the NHS could probably be a lot less burdened if someone walked in and said, "Oh, I've got this." Instead of giving them a tablet, they could give them a gym membership. Like I think just going to the gym, being healthy, being fit, is so underestimated. It's just ridiculous. How can you not want to exercise and make yourself? I'm not saying super athlete or anything. Just be physically fit. Surely that is healthier for you than any medicine or tablet they're going to give you. So that's the way I've always looked at it. Is that like I'm in good physical condition, so you can't treat me like a normal person. If I go in and I've got like I don't know a little tear in my wrist, which I still have, I'm awaiting surgery on it. Like you don't need to tell me to take 6 weeks off, because it's not the same. It's not the same as an average person coming in and going like, this is the problem. So I just went in and just came out, and I'd made my mind up when he said it straight. When he said, "Oh, stop doing contact," I made my mind up of, "All right, cool, that's not happening." So that's just the end of the conversation, really.
Well, I'm glad to hear you're good.
I know you were getting messages from Mo all weekend, obviously, but you win. Was there any message in particular that you got when you did get the big win that you kind of said, "Oh, that's really nice"? Because again, it sounds like your team is hype. I've seen them cheer for you a number of times on different competitions, but I know sometimes you can either get something told to you in person or message to you after you win that big of a thing.
No, I got to be honest. Like my phone obviously did blow up a bit, and I was having a lot of messages, Instagram, Facebook, text, like WhatsApp, anything and everything. I had a lot of people messaging me back and forth. My family were obviously over the moon for me. But I actually sat by myself for a little 5 minutes after I'd won. Like it's weird. It's the closest I've been to having an emotional response to competing in a very long time. You know, like I usually win, and I'm just like, all right, cool. Let's just go home. Let's just go get McDonald's and just crack on all day. You know. But trials were the ones where I sat with myself and had to think about what it meant. You know, and how cool it was. You know, like Owen, to be fair, who's also another British athlete who won his division with 5 fights, 5 subs, in spectacular fashion. He was just literally like, "Oh, that was cool. Let's just go get a pizza." And I was like, "Bro, do you not realize what you've just done? Like, it's such an incredible achievement, you know, and it's not something that should be taken for granted, you know." And like even guys like that, even like Owen messaged me saying like, "Man, like what you did today was incredible," you know. So no one particularly, you know, like it was just so nice to share that moment with my brother and my wife, and a couple of my teammates. And then you know, when we got home, we went out for some food as a family and went out for a celebratory with the team. Um, but we're trying to just normalize it. You know, we're trying to just go like it's kind of what we expect of our athletes in the gym to be achieving. We don't want to be, you know, like I think it's how you open doors in it. You know, it's how you get to the next level as a team. And you know, you get one British champion, and all of a sudden now you've got 3, and then you've got 5, and then you've got 10. You know, like someone has to go first, and I was really glad to be the guy who did it first for my team, and I know I will be the last for sure. You know, so there wasn't particularly, you know, like one of the cool things. Probably one of the coolest things was um, my one of my students in Australia. Bearing in mind the time difference is the other way compared to you guys, so he stayed up until like 8 a.m. and watched all my matches live and was messaging me after every match. And he actually stayed up the whole night to watch it. So I thought it was pretty cool. You know, it was real nice of him. But it's more so just the fact that there's so many guys in my gym that I didn't even realize we were going to watch it. And like he'd met me saying like, "Hey, bro, I'm with all the boys. We just watched you win." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, I've got like Dean, Gareth Hanvey, and like loads of guys are going like, we're at the house with beers watching you." And I was like, flipping heck, boys, what's going on? You know, like it was just really cool.
Good for you, man. That's pretty dope. Well,
I do want to now transition to what you've got going on because you're
Yeah.
not slowing down by any stretch of the imagination. The triple champ returns on over to Polaris, and I got to tell you, I like you having a one-off match, and it's a good one-off match because when they tease you on these squads and they say like, "Well, Ash might be on the squad," all I can ever think of is I don't want to root against Ash. I'd really prefer not to. But if it's going to be UK versus US, you know, for a week, you know, you're not my friend until I see something
Yeah.
differently. But I do love the fact that, yeah, you get to return back to Polaris. So talk to me about that, man. How did that all come together?
Yeah, so obviously I was meant to be on the UK squad team versus the USA squad, and I was actually went to watch it. I went to watch that live, but that was literally the week that I got the news about my neck,
Oh,
and that was the
no.
week where I was like, do I still compete? Don't I? And because obviously the guys were so much heavier, I was like, I don't know if being guillotined by a super heavy dude right now is probably the smartest choice. So I withdrew from Polaris for that reason. But having had the run I had after that and how I feel now, I'm actually gutted I didn't do the Polaris because I feel like I could have performed fine physically. And obviously, there was a lot of good matches. So it was a bit of a shame to miss that one. But, you know, I get it back. And there's some good guys in that card I want to get a match against anyway. But then, yeah, this Polaris coming up now is interesting because I've been back and forth with him for a few weeks, meshing him, saying, like, look, guys, like, am I on? Am I not on? Am I on a match or what? You know, I need to know because I need to be prepping. I need to be, just getting ready, sorting my dates out, you know, and everything else. And I messaged him loads of names. Like, you know, Gianni, Gabriel Souza, Gio, Michael Musumeci, um, Diego Patel, like Josh Sonaro, anyone I can think of, I was meshing. I was like, look, any of these guys will do. Like, I don't care. Anyone top 10, top 15, anyone who's won a match recently. Like, once I'd won trials, in my head, everything between then and now is just, it's just growth now. It's just learning, you know? So, like, I can accept any match I want because the outcome is not going to now start working against me for trials. So I was like, I can just get any match, just give me the best guy you can get, because if they smoke me, all I got to do is just improve by trial, but by ADCC, for that guy. So I just wanted to feel those top 10 guys again, and unfortunately, it's actually your guys' Thanksgiving, I believe the same date, which is one of the reasons they're struggling so hard to get Americans to come across. And then they messaged me going, what do you think about Paulo Miao? And I was like, yes, please. Like 100%, let's get Paulo. That's wicked. I'd rather Zhao because I fought Zhao and I want the match back. But if we can't, let's get Paulo. And they go, oh, cool. Yeah, but it's in the gi. And I was like, what? I was like, we haven't mentioned gi once. Like, I have not remotely hinted to a gi match one single time in the last 3 months, So I messaged the Gravy Train and I messaged my coach and I'm like, hey boys, what do you think of Paulo Miao? And they all start kicking off and like, yeah, that's wicked. Let's get it going. After like a couple of messages came through, then I was like, oh yeah, but in the gi. And they were like, what? They were like giving me like crazy emojis, like gifs flying in all over the place. And I was like, that's what we're looking at, boys. What do you think? And I've got like between all of my the top guys I kind of asked these questions to, I've already kind of got their immediate responses. So my brother's like, give me a couple of minutes to think about it. So he'll have a little think. Chris will always message me back saying like, look, you could beat anyone on your day. I got faith in you. Type of message, where like he's always got confidence that I can do my job. But he always says, you gotta know you can do it as well. So you make the choice if you want to or not. And then Tom Barry and Jamie will always message back like, easy money, baby. And I'm like, what? I'm like, did you not read what I sent above? It's Paulo Miao and a gi. Like, I was like, what about that's easy money? I was like, you're nuts. But they always, anybody I say I compete against, they're always just like, yeah, you'll smoke that guy. And I'm like, we literally watched him last week, like, just dismantle 3 people in a row, So all the boys were pumped for it. And I was like, I got nothing to lose. Like, this is one of the first matches I've had in probably 4 years where for me it's actually a win-win. Like, it's just a win-win. As in, like, I lose to Paulo Miao. I wasn't expected to win. I beat Paulo Miao. I wasn't expected to win. So, like, to me, it's a really cool, different opportunity. It's a shame I don't get to defend a title because obviously I'd like to defend my titles. I don't want to be a champ that doesn't defend titles. But then I was like, I kind of told Paul, I was like, let me have a little think now because it's a key match and this guy's tough. And then after a few days, I was like, you sure we can't do like half the round gi, half the round no gi? And they're like, nah, Paolo's been very strict. He just wants gi. And I was like, do you know what? Yeah, go on then. Like, let's just get it going. Like, I got to compete in my home country. He's a 3-time gi world champion. Like, it just doesn't get better than that, does it? That's cool as. It's just such a nice opportunity. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to the challenge.
Good for you, man. And again, I think there's a little bit of an underpined, the goalposts have changed, but the goal remains the same. So even though you've had all these hurdles thrown at you, you're still looking at ADCC. So even though, obviously you're competing at this Polaris and competing at a gi doesn't necessarily help you, the level of the competitor you're going against will help you. So how do you turn down that opportunity? You just say, all right, we just got to do the thing. If they want me to wear the pajamas, that's what I'm going to do. So I totally get that, man. And then, meanwhile, that's not all you're doing. So then you've got Polaris coming up. And then the next week, what happens after that?
We thought we'd mix it up a little bit and get a match against Robert Deagle Nogi. So like possibly as far away from Paulo Miao and gi you could get. I got offered the Robert Eagle match a while ago, which is in Ireland. So basically, like, the show messaged me, same as Players, the show messaged me, and they were like, do you want a match? And I was kind of like, look, I really do, but I'm trying to build a bit of team momentum at the moment. So I said, look, I'll almost just take any match you want if you let my teammates compete. So initially I started on Grapple Kings, and they were like, cool, who have you got? And I sent them like a wicked big list of all my teammates. and then they matched. To be fair, they matched 7 of them. So we've got a big team going out to Ireland to compete. My brother's probably got I'd almost say a cooler match than I have. He's got a match against Camille Wilk.
Yeah.
So it's really funny because like Camille and Deagle just fought each other, and Camille beat Deagle, but now I'm fighting Deagle and my brother's fighting Camille. So it's just quite weird, you know. Like obviously, I'm fighting the guy who lost between those two, and then my brother's fighting the winner. So, and even my coach is competing. Chris is on the card, you know. So, I thought with Deagle for me stylistically, it kind of makes sense to take the match. Like he's got good height behind him. He's definitely very very skilled at what he does. But unfortunately, I feel like his trump card is kind of just like not effective with me, because I haven't been leg locked yet. I don't really intend to, against the highest level submission grapplers I've fought in the last few years. And I think if I was going to get beaten by a leg lock, it would have happened by now. So, yeah, I thought Deagle stylistically was great for me. And again, it's just another match, more XP. Same as the Paolo match, it's just more XP against those guys. Keep my weight low so I don't get fat for Christmas, all that type of stuff. It's just a great opportunity for me just to have the run out and almost to stay relevant, because the US guys have had such a long time to be relevant that I got knocked out of the rankings because I was so inactive, and I was like, oh, that's not my fault. Like,
Right.
It's not my fault. Like, I want to be active, And then I did trials. I got put back in, like a lower spot, and I was like, no, so I just got to be active, and I just got to get back out there and just keep showing my skill set, just so I just stay in people's eyes, really.
I think what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to now see if I can start bootlegging some of you guys in there. And like, if there's a way I can go in there and be like, I'll give you a little higher ranking if you give a nice little 30 piece over this way. Like, I just like the idea of really starting to lobby a firm for all of these folks. Because I will say this. I knew in talking with you during the pandemic or before and after it, honestly, is that you're never short on wanting to compete. And the fact that even before the pandemic, you were telling us, like, I'd love to get opportunities. It's just y'all in the States have more opportunities. Fly me out there, take care of me like an athlete, and I'll do it. And
Yeah.
it's a tough business because a lot of the times they just go, well, who's this guy? I got a purple belt here. Whatever. Let's bring him in. And that purple belt might be just fine, but you put together a really good resume and you're trying to build yourself as somebody who is going to compete on that level. So I get that. I would say one of the things that you are doing that is very nice, and you told me that as a response to many of the gyms facing hardships during the pandemic, you're now going to be taking your seminar tours, which, by the way, every time I see them, super jealous. All the people you get look amazing. And like every time I see them, I go, wow, I would like to do that seminar experience. You tell me right before we go on air, you go, oh yeah, I'm going to do a free seminar tour to help out those gyms. And I thought, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, no, I was. I gotta be honest. Like in COVID and lockdown, like I was sitting here watching the Americans kill it and love life and just compete every weekend, and I was kind of like, this sucks for me. But the truth is, I was actually still training every day. I was going to the gym. I got to spend more time with like my wife, my family that I had done for ages. I got my body to recover, my mind to recover. I kind of re-looked at a few things in my life. I started reading a lot more and trying to change some stuff up to just kind of come out of the lockdown further ahead, really, than I went in, and be in a better place mentally and physically. But then I was like, like when I came back to the gym and our gym reopened, a lot of our guys came back and they were like, you have no idea how much I need this for my mental health. You have no idea how much I need this for socializing and everything else. And I was like, man, jiu-jitsu, like, it just has such a bigger impact than just that physical endorphin release that obviously that I love it for. Like I love going there because I love the fighting aspect of it, and actually competing against guys every day. But some guys just like it's their escape, it's where they feel their happiness in a day. So I thought I could just go around a couple of gyms and kind of teach for nothing, just to kind of give their students like a reward for supporting their coach throughout COVID. So all I did is I kind of put a spreadsheet together and a questionnaire, and I just said like, did you get affected by COVID? did your students continue to pay their memberships? Like, have you bounced back okay? Just some generic questions about how gyms did. And I had like 120 gyms apply in like 24 hours. So I had to shut off the applications because obviously I couldn't teach that much. So I limited it to 20 gyms, and I kind of just picked the biggest gyms of each area in terms of mat space. So like even if I went to a gym this weekend, I went to two gyms in Leeds, and half the mat was their guys, and half the mat were people from local schools. So I said like the only rule I had was I wouldn't charge anything for my services, but you had to allow other schools to attend.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Yeah, that's cool." So I'm about 75% of the way through at the moment. And the feedback's great. I get a really good. I said like I came back from a trip with Tom. We went to Liverpool to do two of them together, and like on our way back, we were literally like, "Oh man!" Like we were so happy and high about it. Like we were loving it. It was so much fun just to share jiu-jitsu, go out there and see the response from everyone, and just then everyone messaging you saying like, "Oh, that was a wicked seminar. I know we had a great time." And to be honest with all the hosts have been really gracious, like a lot of them have taken us out for dinner afterwards, or just like sprung a hotel and put us up something a bit nicer than we would have got, just a few nice gestures, and it just shows the jiu-jitsu community as a whole generally, in my opinion, is pretty solid.
Well, good for you, man. And I've attended one of your seminars
in the past, and I know it is quite good. So I feel a great sense of jealousy, much like I do every time I see Tom going to train with you, even though he's a giant traitor, and I don't really recognize him as an American anymore.
Tom's actually landing you tomorrow.
Well, that's fine. You can tell him I called him a traitor because I don't do it enough.
Yeah, he's coming back for 6 weeks, and he's on Polaris and Grapple Kings as well.
I saw that, and you know what? That's a great match for him too. And I thought, normally for some of my close friends, I don't know how their family or friends take this, but I 100% will put on their comment section. I'll be like, "All right, let's go, Oli," and he immediately gets the joke and is like, "All right, that's very funny." I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be cheering for him, man. If you're gonna be a traitor, fuck off, dude. I'm gonna be going for the other guy then." But Tom's good people, and I love when you really like open your doors and you're very nice and kind, and I've heard great things just off the record and stuff like that. But I want to make sure that we go ahead and tell people just a couple last things before we end up finishing up here. But one of which I wanted to make sure we gave you the opportunity to go ahead and plug is your website, where you're putting up techniques all the time. So feel free to tell people there, and also take the opportunity to tell people thank you or shout out the teams or sponsors who helped you get to that podium, sir.
Yeah, so probably the biggest one. So my website's ashwilliamsonline.com. Pretty straightforward, To be honest, we actually set it up and we got it going in the hopes that I made it to ADCC, and we kind of just used it. We made it like in lockdown, and we're just like kind of like getting all the bugs out of it now and trying to get people on it and use it and get through it. So if anyone is watching and listening and you want a free month on my website, just hit me up on any social media platform and I'll sort you out with the code so you can get a free month. But there's like 200 plus videos on there, and it's got all my best stuff for sure. Like I'm not shy about my jiu-jitsu. Like I'll teach anyone my A game because it's not going to change how I do it. And then this year's probably been the biggest year for me in terms of my team and how we are gelling and bonding together. So I've been part of a school called CRA for my pretty much whole career. And my twin brother also trains at this gym, but also runs his own school called Sara Jiu-Jitsu. And through lockdown, we kind of all met up and we made it official now that we are going to be competing under like an umbrella team called Drag, which is Welsh for dragon. We kind of call it with Drag because obviously I had the Welsh dragon rash guards made, which I think personally are the best rash guards in the world. I'm not being biased, but I think they're pretty cool. And then we thought, yeah, Drag was really cool. We would go with that, and everyone kind of got on board. And since we went with the new team and built it up, we went to the British Gi Open. We took 50 plus competitors and took second place as a team. Then we took 75 competitors to All Stars, which was like the Welsh Open basically. We took first place in that. So the team's just the atmosphere, the morale at the moment is just unreal. And like everyone seems to get on board. Every single person in the gym comes up to me and goes, "Oh, when's the next competition?" And I'm like, "I didn't know you compete." And they're like, "I don't." But all you guys are, and it just seems like I'm missing out. It just seems like I've got to be part of the team. So Drag has been a brilliant inception throughout lockdown, and I'm very grateful for it because it means I can represent everybody who's part of my camps and kind of lead up to every competition I do. And then last but not least, after my team is just always my family, my kind of closest friends. Like if you read much material, if you read much like successful person books, um, they always talk about like your five closest friends and like kind of who you're gonna be like and kind of like end up like. And like the five people I spend time with, I'd be happy with that, for sure. Like they love jiu-jitsu, they compete like animals. Like they're all on Plavs, they're all on Grapple Kings, they're all killing it. So like yeah, my wife who I'm with all the time supports me, and then my brother Jamie, Tom, and then Chris. Like they're the guys I spend every day with, and I don't really feel like ADC's Trials Gold would have been achievable without them. 100% not. And I do a lot of gratitude to my team and the guys who help run my gym when I'm away. Like at the end of the day, I'm away a lot, and I've got a big team at home who keep my gym running and keep all the classes and keep the facility going, so I can keep doing what I do. And yeah, just very grateful for them.
Good on you, man. Well, I just want to congratulate
You, it was a great run, and I know what it meant to you, so I immediately reached out to you because we are trying to do this. We're trying to reach out to everybody who wins the trials who speaks English because I don't know other languages. So I'm going to do my best, and it makes me so happy when I get to send the message to you, which is congratulations, because I do mean it, and I really do mean, like, when you come along these journeys and you know what it means and you know what they're doing, I had a pretty good idea of what a win like that would mean to you, but even after this conversation, I really do know what it means. So it solidifies that, oh, okay, yeah, even with those obstacles, you did it, and in about 9 months' time, you get to do something spectacular again. So for me, I'm super stoked for that opportunity. I know the caliber of jiu-jitsu that you bring. You're never boring, and I'm so excited to see you compete this weekend again, Polaris, and then the next weekend over at Grapple King. So, the Grapple Fest. Did I get that wrong?
No, Grapple Kings. Yeah, Grapple Fest is this weekend. Polaris weekend after, and Grapple Kings.
Oh,
yeah.
I just tagged Grapple.
Yeah.
I just tagged Grapple Fest, but they did like it, so good to know. Oops, my bad, Chris. Anyway, I guess what I'm going to say to you is this: congratulations. The last question I have for you, sir, and it's a big one always, but it's what I ask all of the ADCC winners, which is, what would an ADCC win at the Worlds mean to you?
I've told my whole team if I win ADCC, the penthouse at Caesars is on me. I was advised if I win the prize money, we're not coming home with it. Don't worry, we'll have the time of our lives, and we'll just go from there. Like I just want to be able to give back to my team, to be honest, and just show them what jiu-jitsu can do for you. Like we're from such a small little city in the middle of nowhere, which no one's ever heard of, no one really cares about. So to put Drag on the map and then show my team what jiu-jitsu can give back, I think that would be that would be the dream. Really, that'd be incredible. So yeah, if I win, come to Caesars.
That's what's up. Congratulations to you,
You, sir. I look forward to seeing what's up. I guess coming up in a few months, but I'm going to be watching at very random times you competing over the next couple weekends. But I'll say bye to you off air. I'm going to go ahead and close this on out. But my thanks to our good friend Ash Williams.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, guys. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Just wanted to remind you, it's pretty easy things to do here on the show. Give us a like, a subscription, a follow on all the @Grappling Hour places. You know where they are. And we're going to continue on with our list of many different ADCC Trials winners. We've already got a few in the can. So in the next few days, you'll see interviews with John. You'll see interviews with Mason. Again, I know. He won. There's nothing I could do about it. And we have scheduled interviews with a number of folks, including, but not limited to, our friends, the Rotolo brothers and Cole. Cole's a kid, so it's hard to schedule him, and he just had a birthday yesterday. So we've got him, and we're in talks with Kendall to schedule one very, very soon. So we're already getting all of the East Coast Trials winners with eyes on the prize for next year. So if you like what we do, and one last thing to remind you guys, if you give us a subscribe on our YouTube channel for this next month and help us get to 500 subscribers, we will do a personalized toast for those of you who subscribe. All you have to do is send us a screenshot, a DM over to the @GrapplingHour thing, and we'll do a personalized toast for you because we appreciate you. And normally we toast people like Ash who get submissions within regulation, but I'd rather do it for you because he gets too much anyway. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us here on the show. My appreciation to all of you guys. I hope you tune in later this week for some more interviews. But for right now, it's been a great day for grappling.